Welcome into this episode of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff with you. Great to have you along. Today's episode brought to you by Sparklight. And we're joined by Lynn Collenbach of tennis. How are you doing, Coach?
I'm doing all right. I'm tired.
Well, it's that time of year. I mean, all spring sports have kind of seen their postseason. Some of them are still, but this is kind of the big week with things wrapping up for the most part. And for tennis, your regionals in your state have come and gone.
They have, and I am exhausted because of it.
Well, and not only that, I mean, you also, weather issues, things like that. I mean, it's been an active pattern with all that. We've had a lot of wind and stuff as well. So you've probably been, worried about that kind of stuff. And then one day you're scheduled to do it, but you have to do it the next day.
Well, regionals for boys, we had day one. Usually regionals is just one day. And we had to get out of there by 2:30 because of the tornadoes that were supposed to be hitting us. So 2:30 happened. We weren't done with our matches. We came back for day two. So it was definitely not expected. I had a full day of classes that I didn't have anything for them to do because I was expecting to be there. So, yeah, it's been interesting, to say the least.
Well, and things have wrapped up. So let's talk about kind of the success this season. And we know how tough 6A tennis is. We've talked about that, but you did have some kids that had some good success this year.
Yeah, I think across the board we got better. We did have some state qualifiers. So for our girls' doubles, our number one doubles, we had Kylie Flowers and Allison Edwards. You might know Allison Edwards from volleyball because she's a high stepper as well. She does, I think, everything.
Yeah.
But they qualified for state, and they did not make it to day two, but we picked up some games on some hard teams, so I was very, very proud of them. So we didn't have any boys qualify, but, honestly, our region was extremely difficult for both. So just for us to even just get one team was honestly the best I could ask for.
Yeah, and was this year somewhat challenging maybe with some of the stuff that was out there? I mean, you're trying to instill what you're wanting to do overall with the program. So talk about some of the challenges that you had and how you met those challenges and how you've gotten better because of it.
So this year it was interesting. It's my first year as head coach. Right. So there's going to been some challenges with that anyway. You've got new leadership coming in. And there were a couple of things that I wanted throughout the year that I think we definitely hit the nail on the head with. We are one team, so we are Wildcat Tennis. It has nothing to do with anything. All it had to do with us just being one team, because before we had been two separate teams.
Right.
And if you've got one head coach, you need one team. So that was a challenge because the program's been run the way it's been run for like 20 plus years. So once that changed, though, I feel like everybody bought in. We are Wildcat Tennis, and we have that on every single piece of clothing that the kids own this year. So I think that was a challenge, but definitely one of the best things that I think we could do, because everybody is now working together and they know that they are there for a common goal. I wanted to see growth, and I wanted to see us getting better. And I would say that, again, throughout the season, we picked up games on teams that we would have been what they call double bageled, which means 0-0'd, so 6-0, 6-0.
Yeah.
And we would pick up games on teams that we wouldn't have the year before. So that was already an improvement across the board. And so I think that just shows that we worked hard, we got a lot of work in, and we got better at as a result of it.
Yeah, challenges, getting better, progress, what you want to see. Now, that being said, you watch what you've done this year. You have the first year of head coaching under your belt. What are maybe some of the adjustments now that you're thinking about going into year number two?
Hard question. We started out with some basics this year, and I kept telling my kiddos, like, look, we have never it's been a while since we played pure, actual doubles, or we've looked at the strategy for singles. So this year we were just working on simple placement, learning how to move in doubles, things like that. I know I'm talking about doubles, but really that's where I think we need the most growth. And next year we're going to be working on things that I couldn't implement this year because it would have just been too much. As a coach, we can only give them so much before their just head explodes. So this year my goal was just to be like, okay, I want us to be able to move well in doubles and learn how to read and react. And I wanted to keep the ball cross court. Well, in doubles. You don't just have cross court, you have other options. And so at state and regionals, we had to kind of step it up, and I had to be like, hey, you have other options. So for this next year, my goal is that we work on those throughout practice so that we have more tools in our tool belt, because this year, again, we only had a couple of things in our tool belt. Now we can kind of add and grow accordingly. And then I also want our kids to like kind of specialize in singles or doubles a little bit earlier on in the season, but I was still trying to figure it out pretty early on.
Yeah, and let's talk about some of the kids that, you got some, I'm sure, that'll be moving on, but talk about some of the kids as well that'll be back next year that you can build with.
So my seniors that will be moving on, that were on my varsity this year, Tyler Stewart, he played number 2 boys singles this year. Roman Bentz played on my number 1 boys doubles with his best friend, Jude Sinton. Everybody thought I was crazy putting them together, but they got along famously and they had a really good time. But he'll be moving on. And then I have Kylie Flowers on the girls' side. She was on my number 1 girls doubles team that qualified for state. She will be playing at Wartburg College, I think it's in Iowa.
Okay, I don't know.
Hopefully I got that right.
Yeah.
But yeah, she'll be moving on. As far as next year's concerned, I'm very excited about next year. I was excited about this year, but going on now that we're finished with state and regionals, I can start kind of looking forward into the future. But we have some talented athletes coming up. It's just kind of, the problem is as a tennis coach, it's where to put them.
Right.
So like, do I put them in singles? Do I put them in doubles? And where do I put them? It just depends on how much work they're going to do in the summer.
That's why you're paid to be the coach.
Oh, yeah, it's true. You get paid the big bucks.
So that said, you don't know, you'll know a little bit about what's coming in, but tryouts were recently. And talk about the numbers and people coming out and trying out and what that's looking like, because last year, probably the tryouts, when you took over, were kind of the first for that too. So you kind of know a little bit more of what you're wanting, what you're trying to do, and what you're trying to find out during tryouts as well.
Yeah. So one of the issues we had this last year, now you asked about like growth and like what we can change, is we didn't have a big junior high team. And that's an issue going into, high school, because we're and especially the girls. Boys, I think we're okay. We have a lot of ninth graders coming up, but girls, there wasn't a lot of them. So what I did is I went into junior highs. So I went into both East and West and recruited. That's a very loose term, but I was like, hey, tennis program's here. If you don't have a sport, please join.
Just educating them about your program.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we also kind of open it up to both Lutheran and St. Mary's, because those kids will come to us in high school. So we have that opportunity in tennis so that we can have those kids kind of come to us to play for us. We had one kid this last year from Lutheran, but we have a lot more that have decided and actually realized that it's a possibility that they can come over. So that's one of the things, as far as like tryouts are concerned, is we had a lot of junior high kids be like, hey, I think I want to play tennis next year, which is going to help our program out in the future, because it really is all about numbers. I know I can make, and my assistants can make kids a good tennis player, but if you're not there, I can't turn you into anything,
right.
And so it's all about getting those numbers and getting them to come to practice and getting them those repetitions that they need to be a better player. So.
Yeah. Can you make me a good tennis player?
Probably.
All right. That's good to know. I'm a little past my prime.
I've given lessons to adults before, so like if you ever want it, you just come to me.
Well, yeah, I probably would need it, because it's...
Unless you're a baseball player. Were you a baseball player?
I played a little baseball back in the day.
Okay, baseball and softball players, it just like, the first ball they hit, it goes straight over the
fence. Oh, yeah, no. So when it comes to baseball, I was more of a slap and placement hitter, though. So I understand the spins and stuff like that. And I've done a little bit, but like I said, I'm not very good. But yeah, you're right. Somebody's like, I'm going to hit it really hard, and all of a sudden you lose 3 tennis balls real fast because you don't understand the spin and the trajectory and all that.
It's finesse, right? So like baseball and softball, you're like, if you're trying to hit a home run, you're trying to hit that ball as hard as you possibly can, right? Yeah. In tennis, it's more a finesse sport, so it's all about like the light touch that you have.
Yeah, you're trying to place it where there ain't.
Exactly.
That used to be a baseball thing, hit it where there ain't.
Yeah.
Now it's just hit it over the fence.
Hit it over the fence, or hey, let's I don't know, hit a line. I don't know anything about baseball or softball, so I don't even know why I'm trying.
So it'd be the same thing. Like you're saying for the baseball, if we got out there and let you try
Yeah.
to swing the bat, it'd probably be a little
Maybe
tougher.
a little dink.
You probably got a good eye though. You probably could bunt pretty good. So.
Maybe I could be a good bunter.
Yeah.
I think.
So that's what we should do. Maybe get Grant to go play tennis and let you go play
Maybe
some
we do
baseball.
a swap with baseball and tennis so that they.
That'd be like an April Fool's Day thing next year, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't have now, you can't do it if you had a game, but if you had something, you could probably do something. Just show up and be like, "I'm your coach for the day."
Well, I already talked to Kristen Smith about getting my boys' team to go to a high stepper tryouts.
I think that would be awesome.
I have a lot of high steppers on my team, so I was like, we could see how the other one lives,
Well, for some of those boys, they'd realize how hard those high steppers were. I mean, I've always said that Kristen probably runs the hardest program of any athletic program, and not talking boys and girls with what she does with those high steppers.
Those girls come in and they're just like, I'm sore today, coach. Like, please, for the love of God, do not make me run. And I'm like,
but it makes them better.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, they are solid athletes. I would say that's an athlete right there.
No,
Every single
I'm right
kid.
there with you. Right there with you on that. So anything else we need to get out there? This will be the last time talking to you for this season, as we'll talk to you again next season. But anything else you want to get out there before we say goodbye?
If you are interested in playing tennis, please let me know. We have had tryouts, but we will have a fall tryout for the fall semester, just in case kids missed out or, I don't know, had a little bit of stage fright as far as coming out to actual practice or actual tryouts. So just let me know. My email is collel@pcps.us.
All right, and one thing else I'll say, because you are going to the summer months, you mentioned giving adults lessons, but I'm sure like if some parent has a younger kid out there, they probably ought to contact you as well and get them involved, right? And get them a love of the game. You probably teach them the basics, correct?
If I'm busy, because I'm busy this summer, I'm going on multiple trips. If I'm busy, I will find someone for you. So I've already had a parent of a 7-year-old reach out to me, and I'm going to get them in contact with one of my seniors so that they can just give them lessons, little basics. So, but yeah, there's a couple people around town that do give lessons. So I'm sure if you post in the Ponca City Watch group, someone will perk up and tell you.
You would love for them to reach out to you and get them with somebody, because I mean the lingo for a coach, the terminology you use and how you coach. If they're wanting to eventually become that high school player, it always helps if they have people that kind of are teaching the same way you would be.
Oh, for sure. And I was talking with some of my students, my tennis kiddos, about this yesterday. Even though you know how to play, doesn't mean you know how to coach. And I think we've seen this across the board, right? There's people that weren't very great players that are fantastic coaches. So
and vice versa.
Oh, for sure. And so I completely understand that.
But also, also one thing I'll say is I think sometimes when a kid has got to their point where they've learned as much, teaching opens up a whole nother thing if they can do it. Teaching the game helps them learn about themselves.
And I was actually, when I was talking to one of the seniors that's going to take over for that one kid that I'm talking about, she was like, it's actually going to make me probably learn my fundamentals a little bit better. And I was like, yeah. She's the one that's going to go play college, so it's like you kind of do need to know the fundamentals because it helps you learn your game a lot more.
Yeah, no, explaining it to somebody that doesn't know sometimes just really helps you learn as well. And I know that from teaching sports to younger kids before as well. It was rewarding for me in that, because I thought when I was in high school doing that, I became a better player.
Well, as coaches, we're also kind of like doctors, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what I mean by that is like you have to literally prescribe. You're like, you watch someone do something and you're like, okay, what is going on with this? Like, why is your swing off? Why are you hitting out? Why are you hitting into the net? And so we have to kind of prescribe and like go through and been like, okay, you need to flip your wrist on this, or hey, you need to get underneath the ball, you need to bend your knees. And as coaches, we have to know the intricacies of different things regarding our sport, right? So that we can help kids, because it's going to be annoying if you just sit there practicing the same skill over and over again. You're never going to get any better. You're just going to continue practicing bad habits. So.
Yeah, no, certainly so. Well, appreciate the time. Thanks, Coach.
Of course, thank you.
Lynn calling back, and that's with tennis. They wrapped up their season. I want to say thanks to Chris behind the camera. This episode of Coach's Corner been brought to you by Sparklight. Jordan Woodruff saying so long. Until next time, go Cats.